Hello YouTube and welcome to a new series. It's going to be Gamemaker tutorials and all kinds of subjects on Gamemaker tutorials, but today I will be doing a mouse view thing. It's going to be an invisible object that just inside the views it's set to follow that invisible object, which we put code into to use it in a different way than just following the player, kind of like just the player itself, keeping the player in the center of the screen at all times, which I'll quickly show you before I start showing how I set it up. Okay, so as you can see, it's like a little camera that as you move around your mouse, it also moves around your player and your screen, so you can kind of like see farther in the direction you move your mouse. So first off, I created by making a 32 pixel circle, and I just centered it out. And then I created a background that just it's so you can see your character moving around the room and your screen obviously too. I created a quick font, which I just changed the name. Everything's just default, the font stuff that popped up, high quality stuff like that. And then for this tutorial, you're gonna have to know what variables are and a bunch of built-in constants and stuff like x and y and all those. It's just the really basic stuff. But I set up some quick variables here and set the player to the middle of the room. And then right here is just the movement code. It just checks the WAS keys and then it applies the actual numbers and then times it by the speed that you give it. Set the create event, and then actually applies it down there. And then I should talk about the game first before I go into the camera. And for the game, I just set up a quick debug variable, so that there's like a screen overlay thing for just debugging or developer kind of thing. And then I set up a quick automatic just full screen, then it finds your screen resolution and sets it to a perfect 1-to-1 ratio of your screen in the game too. So there we go. And then here is where I have all the overlay stuff. This is just the default FPS display, and then here's all the debugging right here, which just it draws the text for the different variables that you can control in game, which I'll show you inside the cam. It's controlled by the numpad and sensitivity, view distance, all the other stuff, and I'll explain what disk cap is too, which is distance calculate. And then this right here just draws a circle. I just did it 3 times over instead of doing a for loop because I didn't really feel like writing the for loop, and just added a +1 and -1, so that way it would kind of draw a thicker circle, so just a single pixel circle. And then down here I just set up some lines so you could see where your mouse is compared to the center of the screen. So yeah, just a bunch of nonsense. And then I set up an escape for just the game end, and then for keypad 9 it's just it's switch event for the debug. Okay, and first of all I set up local distance out, and that's just, you can always leave that on 0. That's going to be controlled by another set of code. And then this is where this is stuff that you could change at the beginning of the game for if you're making an options menu, or if you had a very specific want for the game, you could put on distance calculate, and then distance cap itself, and then the mouse ratio, which I'll show you what that does in a moment. This is just the numpad controls right here, which will manipulate the variables in game, and then there's the switch event to turn off and on disk cap with the numpad too. Okay, so this right here, this is where the actual coding is for the camera that moves around. It starts off by creating this smooth variable, which is rounding the point distance from the center of your screen to where your mouse is at, and then calculating, but it gives you that distance so that it knows how many pixels it is from the center, and it will in the future actually take that number and put it somewhere. And then it comes right here and it says if that number is higher than the cap that you want, then it will set it to the cap. And then right here it will actually set distance out to that calculated variable right here, or calculated variable right there, and then times it by your mouse ratio. Right here, this is where it's actually placing the camera. So first of all, it sets itself to object player, and then with the calculation, taking the cosine of S air, which is being degrees to radians, and it's pointing direction from our player to our mouse, returning some small decimal points and then being times by distance out to actually get how far out it is. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. It's kind of hard to explain, but alright. And then I set up just a quick room. I made it really large because it looks like it's goofing up sometimes when you hit the side of the screens. I didn't want to hit the sides of the screen. And 1, 2, 3, so yeah, it's 100,000. So I highly doubt my mouse would ever hit one of the sides or the view box. And I set it to 60 FPS, and then I just kind of threw everything in the top left, seeing that the player's automatically put in the middle. It doesn't matter. Got object game, object cam, and object player inside the room. That's all. Okay. So with mouse ratio set to 1, it should move 1 to 1 pixel in-game on screen to the exact amount. So if you'd put your mouse on any of these sides of the screen, your player would be in the exact opposite of the mouse, like so. Top left, he's in the bottom right. Now, let's pull up my debugging here. And this is the lines I was talking about. And then there's the circles. Now, by default, I had the distance cap set to 300. So this is the circle right here that would check to make sure the mouse isn't beyond 300 and then set it to 300. Otherwise, it would just follow the mouse. Which you can then change that, and it would get smaller. If you want to have your distance cap like smaller for whatever given reason, like maybe you want it to have a smaller box inside of a game or circle. Or maybe you want it to be really, really large and just barely at the edge of the screen. Just a little more. And you could do that. Okay, let's turn this down. Actually, turn that off for now. And mouse ratio. What that does is, let's say, for example, you're trying to set up like maybe a sniper rifle inside your game. What it does is it takes the pixels on your screen just like it normally would, and then times it by that the local mouse ratio, like you see inside the code. So every pixel would equal 3 right now, since sensitivity is set to 3. So if I put my mouse on the top left right now, that means the player's 3 times as farther away than it would have been on 1. Turn that back down. Okay, and so that's sensitivity, distance cap, the distance cap calculate, which I control with 2. That's why the circle goes away. Which ultimately what you could do instead of just turning off and on distance cap is you could just make the circle so big that it doesn't even matter, but I kind of threw that in there anyways. So works really good. So, you could go further to improve this, to maybe make it so that you could have like a box and then increase the mouse ratio too, because as of right now, when I do that, it can get really fidgety. The mouse ratio can. So especially if you start turning it up even higher inside the box, and it's not very pretty. Yeah. So a few things that need to be touched up on, but overall it works really good. I hope this helped you guys out. And if there's any other topics you'd like to see specifically, or anything you'd like to know about this topic, just put it down in the comments below. If you like the video, slap the like button. And if you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.